losing my mom was hard on my entire family. I mean, like, really, 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 really hard on my entire family. It wasn't like we just lost our mom. And I know, like we're considered the immediate part. But me looking at her sisters and the friends that she grew up with that were like sisters to her, me looking at them, it was like my heart hurt for them. I know just as much as theirs hurt for me or for us, watching us go through that. It was tragic. Like, it's hard for me. Like, it's anybody that was around us, I know they know exactly what I'm talking about, because it was horrible. And it's like, me watching my brothers, like, he grieved hard, but he was so worried about everybody else around us, making sure that they were okay, when he's the one who's lost his mom. Like, it was horrible. So fast forward, we go through the funeral, and after she passed, I moved home. I was like, forget this, I'm going back to my family. And so I moved back home, actually, like a matter of weeks after she passed or whatever. And so when I moved back home, I moved back into our house, and I was sleeping in my mom's bed where she passed, in her bedroom. And I remember, like, so of course, like I said, my baby was younger at the time. And so we were sleeping in there, and my mom used to visit us. And I know people, like, I've been asked, even before my mom passed, I had people ask me, do I believe in ghosts? And I do. I'm going over speed bumps. That's what the shaking is. But I always tell people I do believe in ghosts. And so my mom passing, before, like, I feel like I had one little minor reason as to why I believed in ghosts, but it wasn't strong. But my mom's passing, now when people ask me, do I believe in ghosts? Absolutely. I absolutely do believe in ghosts. My mom visited us so many times after she passed away, and she made it clear, very clear, that it was her visiting us when she passed. She would come, like, I'll never forget, I can't remember the exact time right now because it's been a long time, but she would wake my daughter up out of her sleep every single morning well before it was time for us to wake up. We'll use 3:30 as an example, because it was some odd time like that. It might have been something like that, but it would be like 3:32, an odd time, like not a normal time that you would just be like, oh, it's 3:30. Like, when the first time it happened, my daughter got up and she woke up, and I thought she had to use the restroom. So she gets up and she goes in the bathroom, and I can hear her in the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, maybe she's just using the restroom, and maybe she washed her hands. So I kind of doze off a little bit, and she's like in there running the water for a while, and then she's running the water, and she comes out of the room after a long while, and I'm like, Keelan, excuse me, I'm like, what are you doing? And she says, I'm getting ready for school. And so I'm like, why are you up so early? Oh, excuse me. And she's like, what you mean? Why am I up so early? You woke me up. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And so she says, yes, you did, Mama. She said, you woke me up and told me to get ready for school. And I was like, no, I didn't. Not thinking anything of it. So I'm just like, okay. I was like, Keelan, it's 3:32 in the morning. I was like, just take your clothes off. I was like, go back to bed. You can sleep for another 3 hours. And she's like, okay. So she takes her clothes off, goes back to bed. And time, so it's time for us to get up. We get up, get dressed, take her to school. I didn't think anything of it. So the very next day, 3:32, Keelan gets up, goes in the bathroom, does the whole process again. She comes back out. Keelan, why are you up? She's like, Mama, you woke me up. You told me to get up and go get dressed for school. And so I'm like, no, I did not. I was like, Keelan, take your clothes off and come get back in the bed. And so she's like, okay. So the next day, again, 3:32. She gets up, she goes in the bathroom. So I stop her this time. I said, Keelan. She's like, ma'am. I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm about to go get dressed for school. I said, why? I said, I didn't wake you up. She said, yes, you did. She said, you keep waking me up and telling me to get dressed for school. I said, Keelan, no, I didn't. I promise you, baby. I said, come get back in the bed and go to sleep. And so she gets back in the bed. So this morning, I'm taking her to school. So I was like, Keelan, I said, you've waken up the last 3 days at 3:32 saying that I woke you up to go get dressed for school. I said, why do you keep doing that? She said, because you keep waking me up. I said, Keelan, I'm not waking you up. I said, tell me what I'm doing when I wake you up. And she said, you stand over me and you shake me and you say, Keelan, it's time for you to get up and get dressed for school. And I was like, what you mean you shake it? She said, you just put your hand on me and kind of shake my arm like that, like you always do. Keelan, it's time for you to get up and go to school. Get ready for school. And I said, so each morning I've done that and I've touched you each morning. I said, have you seen me or you just hear me? She said, well, I hear you. I'll be asleep, so I don't wake up to look at you. And I said, and it's been the same voice every time? She said, yes, you. I said, Keelan, I'm not waking you up. I said, that's not me. And she said, well, who is it? I'm like, I don't know. I said, don't worry about it. I said, just by this time we made it to the school through this conversation was longer, but that's the big part. And so she goes to school. And so a couple days go by, and then this random day, my mom had this like a 5-drawer chest in her room, and her bed was here, and I slept on this left side, and on the right side of the chest the right side of the bed where Keelan slept was the chest, and on the top of the chest was she had like a lamp. Y'all really can't tell the size, but it was like one of those mini lamps, and it was a touch lamp. Like you have to touch the gold trimming on the lamp in order to turn it on and off. And it would be like 3 settings that you touch to make it, touch it or turn it on, and 3 settings to make it brighter. And so like I could stand there and touch it, but Keelan couldn't reach it at that time because, like I said, she was younger. She would have to stand on the side of the bed because the bed has a post that would come out about this thick that you could actually stand on. So she would have to stand on the side of the bed, hold on to the headboard, and then reach over and touch the lamp in order to reach the lamp. So this particular morning at 3:32, the light comes on. And I'm laying there, and I always wake up on my back. So when it popped on, at this point, I could see, my eyes were closed, but I could see, of course, you can see when light comes on. So when the light popped on, I could see the light pop on under my eyelids. So when it popped on, I immediately opened my eyes and looked to my right to make sure, because I was about to be like, Keelan, why are you turning the light on? When I looked to my right, Keelan was facing me, laying in the bed, knocked out. And so I was like, looking at her, and I'm like, okay, I know Keelan did not get up and turn this light on and lay back down that fast. Because first of all, I would have felt her move. And so I got up and I turned the light off. Then thinking I thought something of it, but I didn't say anything. Couple days later, same thing, 3:32, light pops on. Didn't say anything. Couple days later, same thing, light pops on. At this point, I'm going insane because I'm like, I knew it was my mom the first time. But at this point, I'm like, what is she trying to tell me? What is she saying? I don't get it. All I knew is it was driving me absolutely insane. I was crying every single time she did something like this because I'm like, she's visiting me. She's trying to tell me something. Maybe she's trying to say I'm okay. I didn't know what to think. All I knew was every time she visited me, it let me know that she was around me, but it made me sad. So sad. And it was causing me to get depressed. So she kept doing it. She did that like 3 or 4 times. And of course, by this time, I've had a conversation with Keelan. Keelan said it wasn't her, which I knew, but I just feel like I had to say something. So she stopped turning the light on. And then she started sitting next to me on the bed at random times. And I would know she was sitting next to me because I could smell her. My mom loved White Diamonds perfume. And then she smoked. But she hated the smell of the smoke. So she would spray the White Diamonds perfume. And she wasn't one of the ones that you could smell the smoke and then smell like they covered it up. Because she was, I don't know, it was just, she would some kind of way get rid of the smoke smell. Like, she didn't smell like smoke. I don't know how she didn't smell like smoke, because she smoked. But my mama was very OCD, very, very clean. So she never wanted to smell like smoke. I don't know how she got rid of the smoke smell, but she didn't. But she didn't. So she did, but she never smelled like smoke. But she loved White Diamonds perfume. So you could always smell White Diamonds perfume. But when she would visit me, it wouldn't be the White Diamonds perfume or the smoke smell. It would be them combined, which she didn't smell like. But it's almost like it was like she didn't want to just have the smoke smell because maybe I wouldn't know it was her. Maybe, or just a perfume smell. So it was almost like smelling them combined let me know that it was her. It's really weird. But like, I would be sitting on the bed doing something random, and then all of a sudden I would smell it. And when I say I would smell it, it's like it wouldn't whiff by me. It would be this strong sitting smell, like she was sitting right there by me. And then it would go away. And she kept doing that. And it got to the point that one of my childhood friends that I used to be best friends with in elementary, she was contacting me. And so I was talking to her about it, and she was telling me that her mom knew a ghost whisperer or something. I guess that's what you call them. They visit your house and come to see what the ghosts want, or whatever the case may be. So she talked to her mom about it, but her mom ended up telling her that the lady passed. And so of course I couldn't talk to her, but she did remember her mom telling her that the lady said that, like, when you're in situations like that, if you want them to stop visiting you like that, then you have to talk to them like they are alive. She told me to sit down and have a conversation with my mom and tell her how I was feeling and my thoughts, and pretty much just talk to her like she actually was there, and let her know that what she was doing was affecting me and how it was making me feel, etc., etc. And she was like, and she won't do it again. And so I was like, that's it? And she was like, well, that's what she said. So I did that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no way this is going to work. It's just literally just me talking to myself or whatever. So I did that. And after I had that conversation, she never visited me again. Ever. She stopped coming, or she stopped doing the things to let me know that she was there. And it was hard for me back then because, like I said, it was making me feel so sad. I was so sad every day. I was having to go to work sad. I was crying at work. Like, I was messed up. And so back then, I couldn't handle her visiting me. So I didn't want her to visit me anymore because it was too hard. And so after, like I said, after having that conversation, she stopped coming. But now, years later, it didn't take me this long to get there. But after a while, it may have taken me a couple of years. After a while, I regretted having that conversation with her, or saying what I said to stop her from coming, because now I want her to come, because I don't feel like I've healed from it, but I feel like I'm strong enough now for her to visit me, and it makes me glad that she visited me. She visited me once. I'll take that back. She visited me once after that, and all it was a smell. It was the same smell I smelled back then. She visited me once after I moved into my house. She sat next to me, and she only did it that one time, so it was almost like just to let me know she's still there. But that one time, that's it. And I was like, "Hey, Mama, I'm glad you're here." And she left. And that was it. She hasn't visited me since. And I, to this day, wonder, had I not had that conversation, would she still be visiting me or not? I guess I will never know. But all of this is just me talking out loud, kinda. But I know you guys will see this when I post it. Because I've been having a hard few days. Like, really, really hard. To the point where I've cried like it was fresh. Like it just happened. And I just want to let you guys know, if someone does see this that has lost their parents, or has lost anybody that, meant a lot to you, like, everybody grieves different. Everyone's grieving is in and on their own time. People love to say, it's almost like people love to tell you how long you should be grieving, or how you should feel when you're grieving. Or they like to, what kills me the most is the comparison. Oh, I know how you feel when my cousin died. Your cousin? We're talking about my mama. Like, the person that brought me into this world is no longer here. The person that raised me is no longer here. The person that I called for every single thing is no longer here. My child's grandmother that she will not get to grow up with is no longer here. My mom didn't die as an old lady. She died in her 50s. Like, I don't know if I would have accepted it better if she had died at 80 or 90. I don't know. I'll never know that. But I tell you this, I was angry to lose my mom in her 50s. I was furious. And for a long time, every time I would see an old person with their kids, like their kids would be in their 40s or 50s, and then this old person is 80 something years old, I would get so mad. I questioned God. I'm not gonna lie. I was angry. I was like, why? And I'll never forget, my mom came to Memphis once, and we were on our way from the mall, and I'm thinking, she loved to shop. So she should have been on cloud nine at this point, been shopping, at the mall there, because it's so much. But she, out of the blue, she started crying. And at first I was like, why is she crying? So I kind of sat there, because I was like, I felt really weird with her crying, because I'm thinking like, oh my God, why is she crying? She was just good. Like, what happened? Everything's going through my head. So when I finally got out of my own head, I was like, Mama, I was like, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And she sat there and she was like, Naya, she said, I just miss my mama. Because my grandmother had passed like before. And I was like, oh. And I kind of sat there and I was like, I know you do, Mama. I was like, I miss her too. And this was my grandmother and I loved her to death or whatever, but I knew my grief was different from my mom's grief. I knew that I didn't feel the same hurt that she felt, even though that was my grandmother, but that was her mom. And so I remember telling her, I'm sorry, Mama, that you feel that way. And I'm sorry I don't understand how you feel. Or I don't grieve behind Grandma the way you grieve behind her. I was like, I don't know what that feels like to lose your mom. And I remember telling her that. And I was like, I don't know. I just kept saying, I'm sorry, because I don't know what that feels like. And to see her crying like a 5-year-old child, she was crying that hard. And that's what it made me feel like a little girl crying over her mom. And don't take that the wrong way, because when I cry over her, I cry like a 5-year-old child. So that's what I mean by that. Like, this is your mom. So when you grieve your mom, you're going to cry like a child, because you're always a child or the baby in their eyes. Because that's how my daughter's 16 and I still, people, when I refer to her, I say, oh, my baby this, my baby that. And people will be like, oh, how old is your baby? And I'm like, she's 16. I just still call her my baby. So that's what I mean by that. So she was crying and whimpering like a child. And I'm feeling so bad because I'm over here feeling normal, while my mom is sitting over here crying her eyes out. And I'm like, I don't feel how you feel. And I felt bad for not feeling like that because it was my grandmother. But although, like I said, I loved her and I missed her and I felt sad, but that was my grandmother and her mom. So I feel like I can't compare my grief to what my mom felt like. But now I know what those tears were for. Even though it was a while afterwards. Doesn't matter. I now see why she was crying the way she was crying that day in the car. I didn't think I would understand it for a very long time. But here I am, understanding something that I didn't want to understand. It is so hard. You never get past it. You just grow through it. That's it. That's the only way I know how to explain it. And I'm on here just, like I said, just talking out loud because sometimes you just need to. It's almost like this will be, probably won't do this often. I probably won't ever do this again, but this is me documenting or putting out there my feelings on my grief process, because it's been years later and I still cry like a child. It's hard. I don't know. Anyone that has lost someone that close to them, especially, like I say, your parents, it's hard. When my dad passed, and I've talked this whole time about my mom because hers is more, it's not recent really, but she's the last. She passed after my dad. But when my dad passed, I remember feeling like I had the biggest hole in my chest that would never be filled again. Like, my dad's death shook my family so bad. And it's crazy because it's my dad. He was married into the family. Not born into the family, but when he died, his death made the biggest impact on our family. So many things changed. It's like he brought together so many different groups and circles of people into one big family. And I didn't realize it until after he passed, because after he passed, those groups didn't come around anymore. Like, it's just hard to go through that. And I pray that you guys do not have to deal with that until your parents are just old and ready to go. That's it.